Setting up a new terminal in Jonas. These instructions are for setting up a terminal within Jonas. If you need instructions on how to install the executable program to get that terminal set up, please refer to the appropriate instructions included with the Jonas CD. A couple of things you need before beginning. First thing would be the terminal ID that you're setting up. You need to know what terminal ID is the new ID you're creating, and normally you can find that at the bottom of the screen on that terminal next to the date. In this case it's PM. You don't necessarily have to be doing this setup on the actual terminal, you just need to know what terminal code it is that you're going to be setting up. You also need to know which modules are going to be using this terminal. Is it going to be point of sale, tea time management, club concierge, etc. Once you have that information, the first place to go to is System Administration, System Setup, Workstation Setup. In here we will set up the appropriate terminal. Say this is a new terminal. Description is normally best to have a description telling you what area it's in rather than a person. So this could be, for instance, dining room left. The workstation type is key when it comes to setting up a point of sale workstation. Keyboard and touchscreen basically determines how that terminal is going to behave. Regardless of this setting, you can still access and process through point of sale. But if you flag it as touchscreen, you will get the blue login screen as opposed to the regular login screen asking for a user ID and password. If you flag it as touchscreen, there are certain reports and functions you cannot do unless it's flagged as a keyboard. Normally, if this is going to be primarily used as a point of sale terminal, you should flag it as touchscreen. The nearest printer should normally be set to the receipt printer for this touchscreen. Color menus, I normally do recommend that gets activated, and all other settings can be left at their defaults, and simply click OK to save that new terminal. Depending on your PCI compliancy settings, you may be required to enter a timeout onto this terminal. If I now pull that terminal back up, from here I can also activate that for the point of sale, tea time, and Timekeeper. So if this terminal is going to be used also as a point of sale terminal, then I can click here and create that terminal in the point of sale. If you are using partitions, you need to tell it which partition this point of sale belongs with and what sales area it's going to use. The chit printer should be your receipt printer. The rest of these can be left at their defaults. Restrict to sales area normally would set to no restrictions. You will then need to work through other additions depending on what you are using in connection with the point of sale. For instance, if you are using credit cards through Jonas and you have an external card processor, you may have to come into external cards to set up that device. Interfaces, if you have a pull display, if you have a swipe attached, you may have to go in here to flag these. Settlement options allows you to dictate or override certain functions that were set in the point of sale. Pin pad is similar to the external card, and cache up options and miscellaneous are used depending on what type of flags you want to override. Tea time allows you to set up that terminal in tea time. In here the key bit is going to be setting up the T-sheet printer, which is normally laser G, then it will default to Windows, and which golf course should it default to. If you're doing online tea times or more than the machines in the Pro Shop will be taking bookings, you should activate the auto tea time refresh. And 60 seconds is normally the refresh that we set to, but you can set it to anything you like. And then click OK. Timekeeper, if you have the Timekeeper module, this allows you to set up this terminal in the Timekeeper module as well.